All right, we're back live. Take two. A little technical difficulty last time, Doc. So hopefully, I can hear you much better this time. So
Awesome.
We are back with Dr. Sebastian. So if you didn't hear the last time, a couple minutes ago, Dr. Sebastian is with the Remarkable Practice, coaches hundreds of chiropractors all over the country, has several practices of his own in Puerto Rico and the United States, and we've been building up on this topic called retention, patient retention. I think this is our third or fourth. So Doc, thanks so much for joining. Today we're going to go into stick rate and R4. So thanks so much again, Doc.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Love seeing you, connecting with you. And yes, we've been talking about retention. This is the third webinar we do on the topic. Remember, we have the TRP retention immersion, which we have in Chicago coming up in October, which we're gonna do deep dive in all these themes. So I'm just super excited to the topic of today, because this is something that I didn't know about and was absolutely tearing up my retention, because I thought, I'm a principal chiro, I'm talking chiropractic to my patients. I'm thinking that they're staying and they're like really buying into all this, and my practice wasn't growing. The numbers weren't growing. New patients were coming in, that they were getting converted, but we'll have, I don't know, 18 conversions in a week, and the office next week wouldn't go up. 18 times 3, it's what, 54 visits. It didn't go 54 visits up.
Right.
So it was just like only went up 3 visits or 4 visits. So wait, how come 12 new patients started last week, and from last week to this week, the difference in patient visits were 1 or 2? Anybody can relate, right? Please write in the comments if you can relate to this, because it was something that just happened continuously. It was very frustrating for me, and it was a real eye opener. Like, it really, that we usually say that a practice has a front door, it has a back door, and it has a side door. And patients usually come in and leave through those doors. So I'm going to talk specifically about the side doors, those that come in and then they just leave. They just fall out. They just, don't follow your recommendations, and they start missing appointments, and they come whenever they want, and they expect to reach their same goals. And usually this drives doctors crazy, because compliance, retention, that's where all our favorite R's live. If they comply, right, if they're coming, they're getting results. If they're getting results, they're getting, they're referring. So if they're getting results and they're referring, then the revenues are going up too. And that's where the retention lives. So how then do we know we have a retention problem? How do you know? How does a doctor know? Usually they say, PVA, right? So patient visit average. It's like, okay, so the industry standard, it's 8 to 12 PVA. What does that really mean? Well, that every new patient that comes into your office usually stays for 8 to 12 visits. So a more principled chiropractic not principled chiropractic, a more practice focused more on, let's say, corrective care, which is more long-term, it will have a higher PVA. But the PVA, if you have like a month where a lot of new patients come in, that number will go down. Because PVA is number of patient visits divided by new patients. And yes, it's a retention metric. I like it, but there's a better retention metric that I think it's not even better. It's just like it reveals so much more on how well me as a doctor, how well I'm talking my patients, and also how well the team in the front desk is administrating the compliance of the patient.
Right.
So this brings me to two things. One thing, compliance is established by the doctor, but administered by the front desk. The front desk, your check-in CA, does not establish compliance. That's your job as a doctor. They administer the compliance with your process and procedures. By the way, if you really want to get and know much more about what we're talking today, this is on the retention chapter of the Remarkable Practice ebook. We're going to make sure that we put a link below, Dr. Brian, so people who are watching, can access it. And also, we can put the link where they can make an appointment with me and have a complimentary call with me and see how we can troubleshoot your retention. It's absolutely free. You just have to click on that link below in my calendar and schedule a call, and I will be happy to help you. So cool. When I started measuring the R4 stick rate, Brian, this is when my game changed, because I now had a metric that will tell me how well I was doing as a doctor and how well my team was doing. So what is the R4 stick rate? What do you mean by R4 stick rate? Well, in the Remarkable Practice processes, we divide care in 3 stages, right? So initial intensive care, which is the first 4 months of care. They usually go 3 times a week and then twice a week. At the end of the 4th month, we reevaluate, and then based on the patient's goals, we will give them the next recommendations for the next phase of care, which is the corrective care, which is the next 12 months. Mm-hmm. And that's when the frequency will be dropped to 1 time a week. And then at the end of that 16th month, 4 months plus 12, that will be when they actually graduate into wellness care or maintenance care, depending again on what are the goals. If they want to keep getting better, that's wellness care. If they want to maintain the progress, it's maintenance care. Because if they stop coming, what will happen? And then they must answer, we lose what we've gained. So R4 stick rate comes at the end of the first 4 months. That's what we call R4. So at the end of the 4 months, which means the stick rate will be determined by how many people converted 4 months ago. Okay? And how many actually made it to their re-exam at the end of the 4 months.
Gotcha.
So we need to, first of all, we need to measure those 2 metrics. Are you measuring how many people are converting? Do you know your conversion rates? So how many people were converted 4 months ago? So let's say if we go to August 15th, and let's say that day we had 8 conversions. So what does that mean? What it means is that at the end of 4 months, 8 people, so September 15th, we should have reevaluated and did 8 re-exams.
Okay.
So that will be 100% R4 stick rate. Now, if 8 people converted 4 months ago, but only 4 reached to their R4 stick rate, to their reevaluation at the end of 4 months, it means that only 50% of those who said yes to you actually followed through their recommendations and now are in the point where they're getting a re-exam. This metric.
So, Doc,
Yes.
Are there, that's the first 4 weeks. Are there other stick rates?
First 4 months of care. First 4 months of care.
Sorry, 4 months.
Yes.
So are there other stick rates in the process? Because that just gets you to maybe wellness, right?
That will get you to corrective care. That will get you. So the R4 stick rate will get you, will tell you how well your patients are following your recommendations. In other words, how great, how you're doctoring, how you're doing on doctoring the patients. And doctor means teacher. So how well you're teaching your patients. Remember, patients starts because they believe in you, but they stay under care because they understand what you're doing. And you have basically on the Remarkable Practice systems, we have some people have the first 6 months initial intensive care. Some people have a whole year of initial intensive care. So if you have 6 months, this will be your R6 stick rate. If it's 12 months, it will be your R12 stick rate. So again, that's why it's called R4, because the first 4 months. Now, yes, there's many other stick rates. For example, the day 0 to day 1 stick rate. So out of all the leads, how many actually showed up in your office? And then we have also the day 1 to day 2 stick rate, which means those who showed up to their evaluation, how many came back and received their report? And then you have the conversion, which isn't a stick rate, it's a percentage. Then you have the R4 stick rate. Then you have the R5 stick rate, R6, 7, 8, because every year then you're gonna get reevaluated, and you measure that too. But here's the thing. Okay. Here's the kicker. Usually doctors measure their R4 stick rate the wrong way, which is how many people converted this week? 8 people converted this week. How many re-exams? So how many patients made it to their end of 4 months and we re-exam this week? Oh, 6. Oh, so we have 6 out of 8. You divide that, and that's your stick rate. So that's the wrong way of doing it, because it's not as accurate if you measure the ones that started 4 months ago. And I thought we were killing it on the R4 stick rate, but numbers weren't going up, and we were converting a lot of people, and the stats said that the doctors were making a great effort on making sure that they finish up their first 4 months, that they didn't miss appointments, that they rescheduled, made all those appointments that were missed, etc. But when we finally started measuring truly, which is 4 months ago, today is October 15th. How many people converted in September 15th? How many people converted in August 15th?
Well, that's 4 weeks, though, right? So you're talking back 4.
I'm sorry, 4 months. Yes,
like
you're
May.
right.
Okay,
you gotta go back. May, correct. So I'm so sorry. Right. Yes, in May.
So how many?
May 15th.
So let me try to make sure if I could articulate what you're saying and where it goes wrong. Doctors will say, well, I had 8 re-exams today, and of those 6 re-signed. So my stick rate is 75%, which is inaccurate, because yes, of the people that showed up, you converted 75% of them. But what if 4 months ago today, you had 20 people sign up? You really had 6 out of 20 stick rate.
All right, let's do it this way. Where's my magic marker? Here it is. So you have health and time. And basically, this is their process in your office. Patient is here with symptoms, with a low level of health. And as time goes by and they get adjusted, their level of health goes up. So we divide this in 3 stages. First stage is in the initial intensive care, which is the first 4 months. Then corrective care, which is the next 12 months. And then wellness care or maintenance care. We're talking about here, the initial intensive care and the R4 stick rate, which means how many patients that started 4 months ago. So May 15th, you had people who started care. Their day 2. You did a day 2, a report of findings. They said yes, and now they're in a care plan for the next 4 months or 6 months or 12 months, depending on the office, right? In the TRP system, it's 4 months initial care. So 8 started in May 15th, and then September 15th. How many of those 8 actually reached to their 4-month mark when they had to? So usually doctors say, well, this day, September 15th, this is how they measure it wrong. They say on September 15th, we had 8 report of findings who converted, and we did 8 re-exams, which means that we have 100% R4 stick rate. But that's not how you measure it truly, because the ones that you re-examine today are not the ones that you converted today. Right. So that's why you have to go back 4 months and see how many actually started, and if maybe it was 4 who started, and then you did 2 re-exams on September 15th, which is 4 months after, then your stick rate is 4 divided by 2 is 50%. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So now, based on that, what do you understand from it? I think now it's going to be better.
I could see that, you need to make sure that you're looking for the people that started the same people that started 4 months ago. And if you're actually looking for them, I'll say, and you know whether or not they've converted and stuck around for corrective care, then that is your stick rate for that day, really. So and you want to keep consistent with that. Otherwise, it's kind of like, I don't want to make, I was going to say it's sort of like accounts receivable, but it's similar. Like, you have to know what of the people that started 4 months ago, how many are, and they're due to re-sign or stick around to the next phase of care today. They're due today. Are they there? And are those people converted or not? And that is your true stick rate.
Right. Because here's the thing. I thought that I was killing it on retention because I was measuring how many people were actually converting to the next stage of care. In other words, the R4 report to the to wellness care stick rate. Mm-hmm. And it was like super high. Why? Because if I got my patients to receive their report of the evaluation that we did,
right,
80% will continue care. The problem was
got there.
if they got there. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
That's key.
You got it. That's why this R4 stick rate is where you get the most people living on the side door and the back door of the practice. Mm-hmm. They leave. And all of a sudden, you're converting all these people, you're attracting all these people and converting them, yet you're not growing because as they come in, they're coming out. So
yeah,
how can we fix this?
I'll say two things to say then. Number one, it's really easy in Genesis to run a report of patients that started in May, for example, and by the date that they started. That's number one. But a question I do have for you is, what is a good stick rate? And maybe you could tell me, I don't know if you do it this way, but let's say the stick rate for a practice, if they're calculating it properly now, and they have a 50% stick rate, R4 stick rate. What does that tell you? Is that, first of all, is there a good goal other than 100%? Of course, we all want 100%, but yeah, I'm assuming that people are not perfect, right? Okay, so what's a good number? What number tells you my team is administering compliance properly from the front desk? Or do you see a number that you can pinpoint? That's the doctor problem. That's the front desk problem. That's week one problem. That's ROF problem. What do you say to that?
So again, one number doesn't say anything. Two numbers tell a story. So when you, because I just went through all this, bro, just now, all of a sudden, the patient visits went down, 80 patient visits from 1 week to another.
Wow.
And we only saw 5 new patients. The doctor saw 5 new in this. I'm talking about this one office. The doctor saw 5 new patients. They usually are above 400 visits a week, and they usually see from 15 to 20 new patients a week. So this is what I got from the front desk. I asked, "Hey, you guys did a patient dinner. We had 20 people sign up and prepaid. 20 people show up. 16 prepaid their appointments. That was Wednesday. It's Monday. How many of those are in the books?" And she's like, only 8 of them. I'm like, 8 of them? Why? Because I didn't have time. Right? I'm like, wait. So
That hurts.
so if you guys saw 500 visits last week with 40 new patients, I can see how you didn't have time. But you guys had a shitty week last week. Super slow. Super slow week. And you tell me you didn't have time? Let's see. Because I don't have emotions, I have metrics. So I went to my data, I went to my vital signs, how we call it in TRP. And I saw in the scoreboard, there's something called the scoreboard where I can see the trends and what's happening each week with all the metrics. And I saw that the day 0 to day 1 stick rate was on point. The day 1 to day 2 stick rate, it was on point too. Conversions, on point. R4 stick rate, 12%, bro.
Oh.
So I'm like, I was about to go into like, if you don't see it with metrics, you first think team, and then you go on to strangle team. So it was a doctor problem. So I sat down with doctor and asked them a few questions. One of them was from 1 to 10. Tell me how the table talk was last week. Tell me how the energy was last week, and tell me, explain to me why should people come and get care. And the speed of the answer that I got will tell me everything about it. What are you gonna ask, Dr. Capra?
Well, I'm thinking this through. R4 stick rate, it's for that week, I guess is what you're saying, right?
Well, yeah,
Right,
you
because I'm
measure
thinking
it
it gets
for the week or for the month or for the year, because you gather all the data.
right. Okay, so I was just trying to think through for a practice to nosedive by 80 visits in 1 week, and only have 5 new patients. It would seem to me that they're not doing those re-exams, and they're not getting referrals is probably why, because the patients aren't sticking through getting results. But that might take a minute, right? Like one bad day or one bad week, will that tank a practice 80 visits?
No. Also, they were saying, yeah, but it was Labor Day. We have off on Monday. I'm like, I get it, but all those people need to make up their appointments, and you knew that day was off, so you should have been able to pre-frame this week in their care plan, because we map out all their appointments in those first 4 months, and then we also map out the next year once they decide to continue. So everybody has their appointments already made. So they're just giving me excuses and reasons. And we said, all right, let's establish a clear goal, because I think you guys lost track of where you're at. So the first thing is, to answer your question, establish a goal. And the goal for the R4 stick rate is 80%. 20% of the people are going to come in. It doesn't matter whether you say or say, they're just going to come in and be excellent patients. 20% are not going to come in. They're going to do whatever they want, even though you say the perfect things, the right things at the right moment. It doesn't matter. So 20%, forget about it. So you have this 80%, which is the 20 that will come, and then that 60 that will totally depend on how well you're doctoring them. And let me tell you, man, I have known so many doctors, great ones, super incredible ones, and not so great. And the only common denominator I find between the really, 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 really good ones and the not so great ones is their table talk. How well they're doctoring their patients. And doctor means teacher, how well they're teaching their patients on their day-to-day, also their workshops monthly, on their progress evaluations, how strategic, how can you do a progress evaluation that will set you off for increasing compliance, increasing referrals, increasing your volume, and that increases your revenues, of course, which is a reflection of how much value you're adding to the market. So establish a goal of 80% stick rate, which means 80% of the people who said yes to you are actually following your recommendations.
Okay.
That's what it means.
Very good. All right, brother. I think that's a good volume of information for this one. I know we have another one coming up before the event. What's the dates of the event again? In October?
Yeah, October
Chicago.
22nd and 23rd. It's going to be a live event in Chicago. The link, we're going to put the link below so you can access it. We're going to do a major deep dive on retention. We're going to troubleshoot it and we're going to fix it. Because if you only have a 10% increase in retention this year, dude, do the numbers. It's just exponential. Right. So, and that's just easy to achieve. And then, of course, if you have any questions, I'm here to serve you and help you. I'm going to put the link for my calendar too, so you can go in, schedule a complimentary call with a time and a date that works for both of us. And let's troubleshoot your retention. Let's find out how you can measure that R4 stick rate if you're not measuring it, and how to set yourself up so you finish strong this year and you start with a bang next year, because we're about to enter fourth quarter of 2021, and it's been one heck of a ride, man. And I'm not sure if it has been fun, but definitely full of growth, and growth is always good. So it's been cool.
Amen. All right, brother. Thank you, Dr. Sebastian. Remarkable practice. Check out the links, guys, after the video, or under the video, I should say. And we'll have Docs back pretty soon. We'll do another topic. So looking forward to it. Thanks again, bud.
Yeah. Bye.